Hey all you Drawing 2 students, just wanted to go over really quick the candy composition criteria and kind of look at some things, make sure we're all going in the right direction. And then I want to show you how to get started with some little rough sketches to kind of work out our composition. Because that's really what we're focusing on, is this idea of creating a strong composition. Guiding the viewer's eye through the artwork by arranging it in a circular pattern or a triangular pattern or a vertical horizontal pattern. So we'll kind of look at some examples here. But all of this stuff you should have been able to pick up in the Commons. The paper to draw on, which is an off-white paper, excuse me. Pencils, colored pencils, erasers, sharpeners, even the candy was there. These things are still available in the Commons today, which is Thursday, and Friday, March 20th in the Commons. So if you don't have that stuff, make sure you go pick it up. Now, by the way, all of these pictures I'm showing you are on a PowerPoint that is on Canvas. So you can go back through and review these if you want to. But as far as the criteria for the assignment, again, you know, the paper size, probably put about a 1/2 inch border on that. You're going to draw the candy large. We want to fill up the space. We don't want little tiny composition with a lot of empty space around it. And then I want you thinking about having one light source. Like in this case, the light source is coming from the top left. In this case, the light source is kind of coming from the top down. So we want to consider that light source, where things are coming from. Talking about composition, you know, nice triangular composition, obvious circular composition, not too bad. So the drawing must have a strong composition, as stated. What is the overall pattern that you're going to make with your candy? And the question is, can you kind of tell, you know, what the arrangement is here and what the arrangement is here? Hopefully it's, you know, fairly obvious. You can see the curvilinear pattern and the triangular pattern that the artist has created. Last thing, well, almost last thing here anyway. I want you to really think about the individual pieces of candy, that they're drawn correctly and in correct proportion to each other. So one isn't out of proportion in relationship to the other. We're going to use colored pencils and apply the colored pencil without showing pencil lines. And the candy must be drawn with accurate colors and values, good light and darks, and details as well. So this is what we mean by not showing pencil lines. You know, this one, let me see if I can zoom in on that a little bit. You can see the pencil lines that they used for shading. And they've actually used a black color pencil for their shading. If you picked up pencils from me, I removed the black so that we wouldn't get into this right here. We don't want to shade shadows with black. And that's why we shaded those two spheres, to see that shadows can be done with a cool color or even a warm color, and that they look much better. You know, this one is pretty nice actually. I think just the lettering itself could have been drawn a little bit better, but it's a pretty nice drawing, B+. This one would be considered an A, a good A work. Notice these shadows, they're not black at all. There may be a little bit of dark in here. Now remember, when you print a photograph from a printer, dark colors are going to have black added to them from the printer itself. So I would still avoid adding any black to this drawing at all, unless you have, for example, a Tootsie Roll wrapper that might have some black in it, but that's really kind of a dark brown. So to get started, well, let's look at this last picture. Oh, okay. Just this last bit. The drawing should take a considerable amount of time, about 20 hours. And if you work on it an hour a day, which is, you know, what we would do in class, it's going to take, several weeks to get through it. So please don't rush through when adding color especially. If you add the color too fast and get it down too heavy, you won't be able to blend colors together. So that's why we focused on the layering of color rather than putting it down really hard and fast. So, okay. So to get started, what I'm going to have you do And some of you may have already started, which if you have, that's wonderful. That's great. But if not, this is what I would probably think about. I want to think about, first of all, am I going to have my paper vertical or is it going to be horizontal? And these are just small drawings, you know, maybe 4 inches by 3 inches. And I just want to work out my composition. So I'm thinking about, you know, some of this candy up here and the shapes that they have. And I'm looking at this vertical. And I wonder about, you know, having a kind of a curvilinear composition going through here. So I'm thinking about maybe that piece of candy and its basic shape. And, you know, the wrapper coming over here. The rest of it just going right off the page. Now, as I draw these, I want to realize that these are really forms. They're not just shapes. A shape is 2-dimensional, whereas a form is 3-dimensional. So this has width to it, but it also has height. So I want to get that width and that height right there too. And then maybe I'll have another piece of candy. I'll just kind of stick with these taffies. And kind of block that in really quick. Now that one's a little bigger compared to that one, so I need to take the size down a little bit so they're in good proportion to each other. And then we'll use this kind of yellow and pink one. I think I want the pink going this direction though. There we go. That's going to go off the page right there. So with each one, I should see the top and the side, and the top and the side, and the top and the side. So they look 3-dimensional. But that's just working out my composition, and I kind of like that. I like them kind of squished in there. They also not only make this curvilinear composition, but have got some nice horizontals, and they kind of align in a vertical as well. So I think that's a pretty good comp. Now, going to the second one here, more horizontal, I look at these Smarties, and they're really, the shape is really a cylinder. So I'm just going to draw a cylinder going in that direction. And maybe I'll bring in, you know, a Tootsie Roll, kind of going in this direction. And let's see, let's repeat that Tootsie Roll idea up here. Again with the wrapper. And let's bring in a piece of taffy in the back. So now instead of a circular composition, I'm kind of going with these diagonals, you know, through my work. So now I just got to decide what direction I want to go with it. Now, if you haven't noticed also, let's zoom in on this again. These images are drawn kind of looking down from the top, whereas these objects, these pieces of candy are drawn from more of a side view. So I got to just decide which direction I want to go with this. And what I'm going to do is just take another piece of paper. Just going to fold this in half. And let's say I'm going to go with this first taffy idea. Now I want to kind of just get my candy somewhat aligned how I want it so that it kind of matches up to my my drawing. It's simple enough right there. And now I want to think about this. I want to have one light source. Now I have several lamps on here to really lighten things up. So I'm going to turn some of these off. Turn that one off. I'm going to turn off my room lights as well. And now I've got some pretty good lighting. I've got windows open here also, so I'm going to block off some of the light from these windows. So what I want to see are parts that are light and parts that are dark. Okay, so it's lighter here, darker here, and then a nice even darker shadow. So that's what I'm kind of shooting for. And with that, what I would do now with my phone, oh, see, that's kind of nice, is just really zoom in on it and take a picture right there. And then you can actually just draw from your phone if you want to. Those are pretty nice. I look at some of these shadows and they're not black. You know, this one's much bluer. These ones almost get to more purple tone to them. So I'm ready to go with that composition right there. Now for the other one, it's a little more complicated because I'm going to kind of arrange things, and it doesn't have to match your drawing perfectly, but I'll kind of arrange things how I feel I want them. Might even overlap some things on top of each other. Oops, not cooperating here. Oh, I don't want that one. I want that one because it has that white shape. Oh, sorry, I got to get this in the frame. There we go. So I'm trying to arrange these to match my sketch just a little bit. And you know, that's kind of close enough. I'm wondering about, yeah, that's close enough. And now what I need to do is I got to move my camera so that I take the picture from a little bit different angle. Again, to match my rough sketch. So there we go. And maybe I can make the shadows a little more dramatic as well. A little longer shadow. Okay, so I'd snap a picture right there. And that way we are ready to go. And again, like I said, you can draw right from your camera or your phone, or you can go ahead and print that off if you have a printer at home and start your drawing larger. Hopefully that helps. Thank you.